Thanks, Stephanie, and I would like to add my thanks to all those who are attending. I'm excited to be presenting today and sharing a little bit about how we train our faculty to use ExamSoft here at the University of Arkansas College of Pharmacy. So I feel like change is difficult, and technology change is even more difficult. So when we decided to move forward using ExamSoft and computer-based testing, we found it a challenge to train faculty and students on how to use the program. So I want to share with you our success story and how we've implemented the program at our college and some of our lessons that we've learned throughout the way. So just a little bit of background on our program is we had been using computer-based testing through a different platform, but had piloted ExamSoft and knew the advantages and the value that it had for our students, but also for the assessment of our curriculum. So we wanted to move to this platform, and we did this all at once. So after we did our pilot within one course, we completely switched over. So the entire curriculum, every single exam that was administered was given through ExamSoft. So we very quickly had to train our faculty in order to be able to use the program. And I'm happy to say it was a very smooth transition for us, and we're starting our second year using ExamSoft tomorrow. Tomorrow is our first day of class. So thank you for joining us today, and just a little bit more about me. I am a clinical pharmacist, and I teach throughout our curriculum here. And I love to teach with innovative methods. So I've shown a picture here of a team-based learning activity that I do with our students, and also a simulation that I do with interprofessional students. And so I really like to teach with different type methods. And so I wanted to be able to assess in just as innovative ways. And so ExamSoft was a way that we could do that. And I saw the value of ExamSoft, but I needed to portray that same value to our faculty so that they would be willing to do this change and enter this journey with me. So I'm curious today as to what you want to get out of this session. So if you don't mind, if you would go ahead on that right-hand panel of your screen in the chat box, so it's towards the bottom in the chat box, if you would just type in, why are you here? Why did this title catch your eye for the webinars? What would you like to get out of this session? And we'll wait for just a few minutes. We won't stay long, but I want to see what you're wanting to get out of the session so that I can be sure to hit those points as we go. So again, that's the chat box on the right-handed panel of the screen. Why are you here? Maybe you are already using ExamSoft, or you are considering using ExamSoft and you want to learn how to train your faculty, or maybe you are a faculty member and want to learn more about training.
Ashley,
but why are you
most
here?
of the audience is typing it into the questions area.
Okay. Let's see if I can see that. Okay, Stephanie, I'm not able to see that. Would you mind sharing a few of those with me?
Not at all. All right, so the first one we have is we want to revamp our faculty training. Here for ideas.
Great.
The next is just to see how ExamSoft works, a general overview of ExamSoft, other tips for faculty training, reinforce the use of ExamSoft. Let's see, interested in how other schools rolled this out, trying to get faculty up to speed as painlessly as possible.
Exactly. That was my goal as well. Okay, well, it sounds like we are on the right track then, that what we're going to be talking about in this session is what you're wanting to get out of it, so that's great. So here are my session learning objectives for today. I want to explore some key characteristics of adult learning, because we're teaching adults if we're teaching faculty, and how we can use that to our advantage when we're teaching them how to use a computer-based testing platform. And then secondly, we'll talk about just some best practices for training faculty if they're using ExamSoft for the first time, or maybe they've been using it but have not been using it well. And then lastly, I want you to brainstorm some ideas of how you could create some of these fun assessments that we do here at our college for your faculty to experience as well. So we need to do just a little bit of review on adult learning theory and just in general how we learn. So andragogy would be the term for that, and that was described all the way back in 1980. And there are a lot of models for adult learning, and we're not going to get in and compare all of them, but there are some key components of how adults learn, even though we don't have it all figured out. So a couple of things that we know is that adult learners need to be motivated internally. So we need to show them where to go, but they're going to have to be motivated, and we can help get them motivated to move to where they need to go. Secondly, all adult learners are going to bring their own life experiences to the table. So previous experiences that they've had with technology or with electronic testing, they're bringing that already to your training sessions for them. So we need to take that into account. Adult learners are goal-oriented, so they need to have some objectives to achieve and then know when they've achieved those objectives. All of our training needs to be very relevant to them because they're not going to learn unless they see the reason why they're doing it. It needs to be practical. I think we would all agree that no matter what situation we're learning in, we want to know that it has value to what we're doing every day. So helping to make this training very active can help show faculty how practical this is. And then lastly, adult learners just want to be respected. And so a way that we can do that is to lead them to discover the advantages of the program on their own. We don't need to just give them facts during training, but let them discover the benefits of the program and encourage their ideas and their feedback. So these are some key components. Again, it depends on what theory you look at and really where your philosophy is when it comes to learning, but these are just some different principles of adult learners. So if we know all adult learners are thinking this way, then how can we use this, or how can we come up with some best practices in order to train them? And I would argue that these principles that I give you, some of these best practices, are not just for ExamSoft training, but really any type of training that you're doing when you're trying to teach adult learners. So let's get into some of these items. So the first is we've got to get them motivated to learn. We've got to get them excited. Showing them this new program and getting them excited to learn is going to be really important, first of all. And then for adults, we need to give them as much control as possible. So if they can make some decisions about their learning and have different options in the training, they're going to see that as valuable. Thirdly, since we know they already have those past experiences, we need to relate those to the new. So we need to compare and contrast what they already know and what they've already been doing to this new program, and how the new program, yes, it's going to be different, but it's worth the time to learn something new because of the benefit that they're going to receive from it. Next, we've got to really clearly define what our goals are going to be for training. So I would always present these goals of what we're going to achieve during that training session, and then I would review those often during the training session so they can almost make a mental check mark in their head for that item. So here was the goal. I just learned how to do it. Now I'm moving on to the next goal. And we've got to show the importance and the relevance of this to their daily practice. So as a teacher, why do we need them to be able to use this program? And why is it beneficial to students that we use the program to its fullest? So if we can design some realistic activities, then they're already going to see how relevant and practical this training is for them moving forward. So again, making it practical. They don't need to know the ins and outs and the completely complex versions of ExamSoft and the complexities behind the reporting that happens. They need to know just what they need to know. What's going to be the practices that they do each day for each exam. So making this practical and at a level that is just what they need to know for their daily practice. Discovering together is really important because you could just lay out the facts and show them, here's what ExamSoft does. There's even some great videos online that ExamSoft has produced that shows how the program works. But if they can discover that on their own, that's going to be much more powerful than the best presentation that either of us could give or the best video to watch. So lead them to discover this on their own. Encourage lots of questions throughout the training session because they want to give input. And again, this is giving them some autonomy and helping to make decisions. And then lastly, you need to reflect often throughout the training process. Let them, at the beginning, what do they expect to learn so that they can go ahead and be thinking about what they should be getting out of the session. And then towards the middle or end, go ahead and ask, what have you learned up until this point? What has been eye-opening to you? What's been beneficial? And then before they leave, make sure that they are thinking about application. So knowing this, how can you apply this to your daily work of creating items and creating exams? So you're pushing them all the way to application and how this matters to them. So I have a quote here for us to keep things in perspective. A change is welcomed when the long-term benefits are perceived to be greater than the short-term difficulties. And so that's our job. As we're training faculty, we need to make sure that we're showing them those long-term benefits. And yes, change is difficult, and learning a new process and a new system is going to be challenging at times, but those long-term benefits for our students and even for us as faculty and for the assessment of our curriculum, those are far going to outweigh any type of short-term difficulty that we're having. So now I would like to share with you the process that we use to train our faculty here at the University of Arkansas College of Pharmacy. We do a 3-phase training process, and each of these phases last about an hour. And faculty do have to take these in order. So they have to be the student before they can come to our behind the curtain session. And then the last session is when they practice and really get some hands-on experience. So we're going to look at each one of these in depth, and I'm going to show you what we present in each one of these trainings. So we'll go first to be the student. So first thing, their experience with the platform is as a student. We're not showing them the back end. We're showing them the platform as the student would see it so that they can discover the advantages and key components of the program on their own. And this is going to help them get excited and get motivated to learn when they can see what this looks like from the student perspective. So in this session, we create a really fun exam for the faculty to take. And when I mean fun, I went around and quizzed different faculty on random trivia questions about themselves. So just little known facts such as, which faculty member was in a rock band called the Sharks in high school? Or I'll get pictures of their pets and say, which faculty member has a lab named Molly? Or who twirled for the Arkansas Razorbacks when they were in college? And we have a question about our dean. What president, she was the president of an organization in high school. What organization was that? So it's just fun facts about the faculty, and we create that as a little fun exam that our faculty who are in these training sessions take. And I'll walk them through the entire process as a student would. So they have to register soft tests on the computer, actually download this fun exam that we've created, and then while they're taking the exam, I'm pointing out the cool features of ExamSoft, like highlighting and how they can cross out answer choices that they don't believe are correct. They'll play with the timer, and on pictures that we upload, I have them zoom in to details on each of the pictures. So they're seeing and experiencing this and getting ideas for how they can use this in their classrooms. And then after they take the exam, we have them upload the exam and then view their report cards, which this is really fun because we make it a competition. Who knew the most about the other faculty in the college? Who had the highest grade? And I usually bring a little prize for the person who does the best. But they're already seeing the value of a report card and how they might be able to use that in their course. So this walk through the process really gets them excited because they see how students would love these features. Now, they're thinking this in their head, but I want to get them to verbalize this and what they're learning. So at the end of the session, I have a reflection time, and I ask them two main questions. The first is, what features do you think the students would like about ExamSoft? Knowing that, they thought there were some pretty cool things as they were experiencing it. So saying that out loud, so it's showing the benefit and the value of this new program. And then I also try to get them thinking about using categories and getting report cards for the students, because I feel like giving that feedback to the students is so beneficial. And so I want them to see the value of using a report card because they receive one themselves, but they'll also start thinking about what categories they might be able to use in their course. So that's the entire first session. And again, that takes about an hour, but I wait a few days and then I'll present them the second training session. And I do this so that their brain can kind of process what's going on and get ready to see behind the curtain, which is the second part of this. So in session 2, they're getting that glimpse to explore just the basics of the online portal. So again, I'm not showing them everything ExamSoft has to offer, but just some of the basics of what they would need to know. So that peek behind the curtain is going to show them how to create items. So we'll create items together just in a fake course. We'll create some fun questions, but it teaches them how to enter items in, whether it's multiple choice, essay, true-false questions. The other thing I get them to use are item templates, because we have an e-learning department here, and they will take questions from faculty and import those into ExamSoft. So I want the faculty to get used to using those templates that we've created so that they can just convert any Word document that they might already have with questions into our template, so that then we can upload those easily into the system. And then as they're creating items, we're also getting them to tag those items with categories so they can see just how simple it is in the process. And then we'll let them create an exam, and this kind of depends on how the process is set up at your schools. If you have faculty actually creating exams on their own, or if you have a few people like we do that actually do all the creation of items on exams on their own. But we show them that if they send in their items to us, we'll create the exam for them, but their role is to preview the exams. So there are mistakes that they'll be able to catch, and so we walk them through the process of, once the exam is created, how do you hit the preview button and then open up Softtest to look at the exam. And I have them actually preview an exam that we've created, and we purposefully have mistakes in there. So they open it up, preview the exam, and I see who can catch the most mistakes. So some of the mistakes that we'll put on there is maybe there should be an attachment with that item, but we don't have the picture attached. And we will put a different time limit on there. Maybe it's supposed to only be a 60-minute exam, but we have unlimited time, because that's all things that we want the faculty to catch in real life before we actually post the test. And we'll put in an essay question that maybe we don't give very many characters, and there should have been more characters available to the students. We'll also put in some items that are select all that apply, when it should have just been a single multiple choice type question. So we purposely put in those mistakes so that faculty will look really close and try to catch those items, so that when we're doing this for a real exam, it will be caught before we post the exam for students. So then we walk them through the process of posting exams and why it's important that they get their items into us on time. And then lastly in this session, so a little bit of while the students are taking the exam, what should proctoring look like? If they're walking around the room, what things should they be looking for during a computer-based exam that might be different from if the student was taking it on paper. And then we also teach them within the portal what it looks like to track students. So seeing if they've downloaded the exam yet, or if they've uploaded it on the back end. we just take the time to show them a little bit of those features that they might be using as the students are taking an exam. So that is the end of our second session. It takes about an hour for this one as well, but again, we're just showing them some of the basics of the portal. Now our third session is going to be the practice session. So the users are going to really practice using their own test items. So they'll enter items, use categories, and create exams with their own test questions, not just the ones that we've been playing with in the previous session, but really the practical day-to-day type things. So it's hands-on practice for what they would be doing in daily practice. So in this session, this is the one that really they have a lot of control and they have more autonomy during this session. We usually make these open to a smaller amount of people so that we can give more one-on-one and one-on-two help. But we're going to let them try importing some old items that they've had into ExamSoft. So using that template, how to actually get those into the database and then assign those categories. And again, these are with their own items. So during the training session, they're really getting experience and they're already doing work for their courses. And then we talk about how to organize items and how to create new folders and just to keep that organized from year to year. And one of the main things we talk about as well here is how to edit items versus duplicating items, and how that tracking of all the item statistics is different depending on which one of those you choose. So just a little bit about how to organize. And then next we do reporting, and what do those summary reports look like? How can you export that to Excel? And how do you look back on item statistics? So once the students have taken the exams, how can you look back year to year to see how they are performing? And then something that's really important for us is we do not release the exams to students. So if they want to come and look at their exam and see how they did on certain items, then they have to come to the faculty member's office to look at those. So it's important that the faculty member know how to get to a single student's exam so that they can review that in their office. So we show them exactly how to do that. And then we give them the opportunity if they want to create a practice quiz for their class. Maybe it's a little quiz that they want to do on the first day of class, but just something that gives them an experience creating items and creating exams within the portal. So that is the three-step process. Again, this last one, it can take about an hour, but since it's so much dependent on the faculty member and what they want to see and what they want to do, it might take less or more time. So I have another quote here is, if we want to facilitate change, then we need to keep reminding our training groups about the why, and they will more happily deal with the how. So if they see that value and why we're doing this and the advantage of using categories and the advantage of getting these report cards back to the students, then they're going to be more apt to go ahead and learn the how and the back end of things. So throughout all of these sessions, I'm trying to remind them of the value and the benefits of doing this, the why. So that's our process, but how do we make that happen for all of our faculty? So just some logistics on how we do this training. The first is that we're going to offer multiple trainings at various times and locations, knowing that every faculty member's schedule is very different. And what I try to do is offer the first and second sessions like within a week, so that they can maybe do the first session on Monday and then the second on Wednesday or Tuesday, Thursday. So they're getting those first two in. And then for that last session, when they're practicing using their own items, then we're able to do some more small group times, and we'll make those available at different places as well as various times. The next thing is to offer different levels of training, because there's going to be some faculty who just want to know the basics. Now, how do I turn in my items and preview the exam? That's really all that I need to know. And that's fine, but there's going to be some faculty who are what I would call a super user. They want to know the ins and outs, and they want to go much further than even these 3 trainings offer. And so we will offer one-on-one or individualized training for those faculty members who really want to dig deeper and know more about the program and be innovative. I've been really impressed with our faculty because they're always thinking of new things, and they're challenging even what I know about the program, so that I'm learning more and trying to figure out how we can do these innovative things for our students. So be prepared to offer those different levels of training, because faculty are going to want to use the program differently. I also suggest that you have the faculty bring their own laptops to the training. That way, they can go ahead and put in your portal website into their favorites. They can go ahead and download soft tests so that they can preview exams on their own computer, and maybe even take some notes as they go on their own laptop. So if they bring their own device, we think that's really beneficial. And then I provide printed handouts for them in the classroom. ExamSoft offers some great training guides, and so I print those off on different color sheets of paper so that we can easily say, okay, now if you're wanting to go back and do this later on your own, refer to the pink sheet of paper. So I give them those handouts, but then I'll also post them. We have an Anyone Shared site that anyone can access and find these later in case they don't keep up with their printed handouts. I always send a follow-up email. First of all, just to thank them for coming, because they have given me quite a bit of their time, and I know that's precious. But I also provide all of the links, so links to our website, links to ExamSoft, so that they can find maybe some of those guides on their own if they're looking for something in particular. Also give them all the contact numbers for ExamSoft so that if they're having any problems, they can find that easily. And it's all in one concise email that they can put somewhere safe and refer back to. And then I recommend offering a come and go training that's right after the semester begins. So I usually do this big training in the summer because, it will take a bit of time doing the 3 sessions, but faculty need that refresher closer to when they'll be actually using the program. So in August and then again in January, I'll offer just a come and go session. I'm actually about to have one right after this is over, so that faculty can come and say, I know I can do this, but I can't really remember where that button was. I attended the training a month ago, but I can't really remember that, or can I have another handout for this? So that come and go session has been really good. And again, they get, one-on-one, one-on-two type training when we're able to sit down with them and really help them for their course. And then the last bit of advice is to be patient. If you're the one who's trying to teach other faculty to use this program, it took you a while to learn it as well. And so just being patient with them and realizing the difficulty that it is, but still being positive and showing them the advantages and benefits of using computerized testing. So we've covered quite a bit already, but I want us to look back and see those 6 components that we saw of adult learning and see if we can see how those are modeled in our 3 training programs. So the first, with internal motivation, I feel like our first training session is really what gets this, because when the faculty experience it, then they're willing to learn the behind the scenes because they've seen the benefits of it. So I think we get that internal motivation from our faculty. And then life experiences, I think that's really seen in our second session when we compare the differences to the previous program we were using and how there's really not that many differences and how they can move forward with the new program. Thirdly was goal-oriented, and really I spread this out and it's addressed in all 3 of our sessions, because before any session begins, I'm going to give my objectives for this day. like you are going to learn how to preview an exam. You're going to learn how to review a student's exam after they take it and come to your office. You'll be able to learn how to look at item stats today. And then once we do those things in the session, I'll go back and show that objective slides and check off when we've accomplished that. So they feel that sense of achievement of these goals. Relevance, I do think this three-phase process shows how relevant the training is to what they'll be doing every day. I think it also shows that it's practical because, again, we're giving really this baseline training on the basics of the program, but we're able to show how it's practical and why they need to know this information. And then the last one, respected. You know, I try to be patient in all of the training sessions and show the faculty that, you know, we're in this together and we're doing this for our students together, and just respect them throughout the whole process and the knowledge that they're already bringing to the table. And getting feedback from them after the process is over. You know, did you learn everything that you think you needed to know? Was there something you were expecting to learn today that we didn't cover? Allowing that feedback also helps to show that I respect them and respect their knowledge. So I we'll end with another little quote to think about, is that change is difficult, but it is not impossible. It is painful, but it's not debilitating. It's work, but it is totally worth it. And that's kind of the takeaway from me, is that it's been worth it. What we've seen, how the students have benefited, how the assessment of our curriculum has benefited from this, the change has been worth it. So my next steps would be for you to think about how you might be able to implement this training for your faculty. Maybe it is this three-step process, or secondly, maybe you just need to make some changes to what you're already doing using some of this adult learning theory. Maybe you can just make some small changes or subtle changes to what you're already doing. And then thirdly, how can you make the training fun? Because I think it has to be fun. So creating those little quizzes on faculty, or maybe it's some little known facts about your college or about your institution, just making it fun so that it's exciting to come to and they can laugh. And I think learning is always better when you can laugh. So I've used quite a few references when referring back to the adult learning theory, so that's available there to you if you want to dig in deeper. But with that, I want to thank you for attending today and sticking to the end, and I'm happy to take some more questions from you. And I'm always available to help as well if you want to email me some questions directly, and happy to share what we've been doing. So Stephanie, I will allow you to ask me some questions because I'm not able to see any of these that are coming up.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Ashley. We appreciate your presentation. As Ashley mentioned, we're going to go ahead and open the forum up for questions. Just a reminder, you can pose a question through the little questions area of the GoToWebinar control panel, which should be on the right-hand side of your screen. We already have quite a few listed, Ashley, so let's go ahead and jump right in.
Okay.
The first one is, when you show them how to create, do they actually create them later, or is it only to make them aware of the process?
Well, I think it depends on how your process is going to be set up at the school. If you are going to let faculty go ahead and create items on their own, then I would definitely show them how and go ahead and create those folders for them and walk them through the process. We would do that in our third training session. So in the second session, it would be more of just for fun. We're going to show you what this looks like. But in that third session, we would let them actually create some items on their own. Now, if you are not going to allow faculty access into the database to change items, then maybe you just teach them how to use the template to then upload items so that your staff that are assigned to do that would be able to get the items in a usable form. So if you're letting faculty enter their own items, then absolutely let them go ahead and do that during that third training session.
Great, and this is actually a follow-up question, Ashley, but would you suggest one faculty or admin role run the program, or have each individual responsible for their own setup and use?
Yeah, so that's a good question, and I think each school or each department really kind of needs to make that decision on their own, because you don't want to get too many cooks in the kitchen, so to speak, if they all have editing rights and might be messing up other people's items. So I think you need to be careful on the permissions, that they can, only edit items maybe within a certain folder that would be their items. But we do allow faculty access. If they have come to the training sessions, then we allow the editing ability. But if they've only come to the first session, then I would not open up that capability for them to create or edit items, because they haven't had the adequate training for that.
Great. Next question is, approximately how many faculty members completed the 3-step training process?
So for our faculty members, we have about 30 to 40 teaching faculty that use the program extensively, and so we had about 25 of them complete all the way through. Now again, some of those are not, they just maybe teach in a course and they give their items to a course coordinator that then would be responsible for making sure the exam was ready. So not all of those faculty went through the training because they were just providing items, because they only taught a few hours of lecture in that course. But our main faculty, like our course coordinators, they all went through the training and are able to use the program in depth. They just might be the go-between with some faculty members who don't teach as much in the curriculum and wouldn't need to know the ins and outs of ExamSoft.
Great. Next question. How do you determine the level of the users, super, basic, etc.?
Well, when it comes to the basic training, I would define that as they're able to log into the portal and preview an exam. Because for our faculty, again, this is just at our school, but we want all faculty who have items on that test to be able to preview an exam. My super users are the ones who are actually getting in and creating items and categorizing those items, creating exams and posting exams. And of course there's less faculty that do that, because we do have some staff positions that will do that for them. But I would say those super users are the ones who are posting their own exams and running the reports after the exams. But what the basic functions that we want our faculty to be able to do are to use a template to turn in their items to our e-learning team, and then be able to preview the exam before we post it to students.
Okay, next question. Do you have suggestions for organizing questions across years, and can we use categories to sort questions by topic?
Okay, yeah, so for organization between years, I think there's a lot of ways that you can do this. So I'll answer that question first, and then we'll talk about the categories and how to organize those by topic. So the organization across years is when you're looking at the folder tray where it has questions, if you're in the question tab, you can easily have those folders that I would sort by some way. Maybe it's the category by topic, or maybe it's the faculty member who's teaching there, but I don't really tie dates to actual questions, because we are collecting that data. Once those item stats come in, you're able to see which exam it was used on and how the students performed. So I don't necessarily tie, that this was a fall 2015 question. But in the assessment, since you're able to keep all of those, then I would be able to go back and see, okay, exam 1 in fall of 2015 had these items on it. So you can always sort by time when you're looking at the actual assessments. So that's why I don't organize the question tree by time. The way that I have our folders lined out is by year for the student. So we would have a P1 fall, and then the courses that are offered there, and then P1 spring and those courses. And then within the courses, we would then divide out by topic. Now you can do that with categories, which is really, really nice. So if you have that set topics tree that you're using for categories, then you can very easily search, still in the questions folder tree, but to the right-hand side, you've got the option to do it by category. So if you wanted to pull all of your pharmacology, cardiology questions, you could do it that way as long as you were categorizing them in a consistent method. So either way, I think whichever works better for your school and your faculty can find their items quickly. But we have chosen to do by topics when it comes to the question tree, and then our timing of when we administered those items would be maintained in our assessments tab, and then also on the item stats that are tagged to each item.
Okay, great. This is going to be the last question, Ashley.
Okay.
Is your program having any issues with faculty writing others, less ExamSoft savvy questions, and some not taking their responsibility to write and implement questions seriously?
Okay, I'm not really sure what that one is getting at. Read it one more time, Stephanie.
Sure. Are you having any issues with faculty writing, are you having issues with faculty writing questions and some not taking their responsibility to write and implement the questions seriously?
No, we haven't had any problems with that because all of the items that are going into the data bank are for intended use with our students. So we haven't had any problems with that. I'm not sure I'm getting at what the question's actually asking.
Okay, no worries. We can follow up with the questioner after offline.
Sure.
That's all the time we have for today. Really appreciate your presentation, Ashley. Thank you for being here and for your time.